With the Arrowverse seasons coming to a close, it's CW week on my channel. A couple of days ago, I ranked the seasons of Arrow. Next week, I'm going to rank the seasons of Supergirl. But today, we're going to stop and rank all 5 seasons of The Flash from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Chandler, and I started this channel because I was driving everyone around me crazy talking about movies and TV way too much. If you can relate, you're probably in the right place and consider clicking that subscribe button. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your ranking of the seasons of The Flash. My list isn't the right list, it's just my list. Let's have a nice, lively, yet respectful conversation about this show that I think we all really enjoy. For me, I actually grew up watching the old 1990s Flash TV show. I was watching it from the very first episode. I recorded it on a VHS tape and rewatched it all of the time. In fact, the only actor I've ever gotten a picture with at a Comic-Con was John Wesley Shipp, the original Flash. I got to meet him just a little bit. Real sweet, nice guy. Real nice to my son as well. So when they announced that they were doing a new Flash series that was a spin-off from Arrow, I was through the moon. In fact, the pilot actually leaked on the internet a little bit early, and I downloaded a pirated copy of it because I was so excited to see it. Probably shouldn't admit that here, but this is a show that I've thoroughly enjoyed throughout the years. Before we get started, this video is brought to you by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoy my content and want to go a little bit deeper and get a little bit more access to me, consider supporting my channel over on Patreon. There's a link down below in the description that can tell you where you can do that and what that looks like. With that said, let's get started. Coming in last place is season 5. In theory, I actually really enjoyed the Nora Allen plotline. The idea of their daughter from the future coming back to meet Barry and all the fun dynamics that come along with that. I was all in on all of those elements to it. The actress that they got to play her has this kind of cutesy, naive personality to her that I thought was just a nice addition that fit the chemistry of the show that is established. But the main villain, Cicada, I thought was absolutely terrible. The basic plot line of someone trying to kill Metas, pretty good. That can work. The idea of a dagger that takes away metahuman powers, that works. That's pretty good. But they stretched this out for so long, and it made them have to come up with the stupidest reasons possible as to why the team couldn't defeat them throughout the seasons. There's even an episode in the show where they have Cicada defeated, and Barry's just punching him in the face, and they're like, Barry, don't punch him in the face, you're too angry. And then Cicada gets away to kill more people. That's just bad, stupid, ridiculous writing. And beyond that, I don't know what Chris Klein was doing with this performance. I have no ill will for the guy, but I thought this was a very bad performance and so overcooked, and just him like, what did they do to my Gracie? I don't know what on earth it was. And then they swap him out for Cicada too, the girl. And it was nice that they brought back the actress from Smallville as someone that watched Smallville. But it was just more of the exact same kind of tedious plot lines about the team not being able to defeat her for reasons that are very unclear. I've been saying for years that they need to move away from these season-long big bads and move to more like 4 to 8 episode mini arcs. Have about 3 of those per season and have one kind of lead into the next one. And that way storylines don't get played out for so long, because that's what they keep doing, stretching these stories for way too many episodes. For this season, I think the first 10 episodes, Cicada should have been in the background as kind of a mystery and focus on episodic little plot lines, villain of the week, and the main narrative being about Nora showing up. Then have Cicada 1 be the villain for like 3 episodes. He gets defeated, take a couple episodes off, then have Cicada 2 show up, give her a couple of episodes, and then do that big twist that they did in the final episode about who the actual mastermind of all this is. Have that guy get a story arc that goes for like 4 or 5 episodes. But that's not what they did. It feels like basically they determined what they wanted their final twist and the finale to be, and they built the whole season leading up to this moment. So they sacrificed half of this season just to have a good finale. Coming in at number 4 is season 3. I think I'm a little bit more negative on this season than most people, but the whole thing felt to me like wasted potential and weird missteps that kind of sucked the joy out of the show for me. For starters, Flashpoint is one of the coolest storylines in the comics, as well as there's a DC animated movie about it. And it should have been at least 3 episodes, but it could have been like 8 episodes. You spend some time with him enjoying this different world, and we have some fun with the changes. You have one where you realize, oh no, I messed it up, and then you have a whole section of him trying to get back. That's more than one episode. In the comics, instead of Thomas Wayne dying, Bruce is the one that gets killed. So Thomas Wayne becomes this very angry Batman and Martha Wayne becomes the Joker. You could have done one of these little swap-aroos where Oliver Queen is the person that died, and so they make Robert Queen into Green Arrow, or maybe Tommy Merlin becomes Green Arrow through some set of changes. But there's all of these things you could have done that would have been interesting alternate world type stuff that they could have explored. Now, just one episode. Second big frustration for me is this is where this show started to have the Arrow problem, which is to say everyone becomes a superhero and everyone joins the superhero team. And that's where the show kind of loses some of its key dynamics for me. Third, they picked a plot line about Barry learning Iris is going to die, and then it ties into where the big reveals of who Savitar is, and it's this evil Barry that created a scenario where Barry, who's supposed to be this fun, uplifting character, is brooding like Oliver Queen all season. And that just kind of sucked the joy out of the show for me because it went so dark, so brooding for so long. Still, I'm picking on this season. I'm being very negative. It's still watchable. I was there every single week. I was kind of invested in who is Savitar, what's going to happen. I just wish it could have been more fun and they would have kept Barry's life a little bit more separate. And I definitely think they wasted the potential of Flashpoint. Real quick before I give you my top 3, remember to share your ranking down below in the comment section. We're going to disagree, and that's a good thing. Who would want to live in a world where we all have the same opinion? Let's just disagree in a respectful, fun manner. Also, after this video, check out this playlist up above. I've got my ranking of the Arrow seasons up there, and next week I'm going to add to that playlist my ranking of the Supergirl seasons. Bringing us into the top 3 is season 4. After how broody, dark, and heavy season 3 was, it seems like they did a bit of a pendulum swing. It went in the opposite direction for this season, and in a lot of ways they kind of fully embraced camp. They've got a villain whose power is luck. They added the Council of Wells into the mix. Elongated Man joined the team. In a lot of ways, maybe they swung too far in this direction, but I'd prefer this show error in the direction of camp and fun instead of error in the direction of brooding. Likewise, after the Savitar plotline seemed so stretched out in season 3, I appreciated that the first half of season 4 was a lot more episodic, and they introduced these villains who had a standalone episode, but then they came back in the second half. I thought that was handled pretty nicely. Likewise, I'm glad that they didn't have another speedster as the villain. I wasn't in love with the Thinker, certainly not the body swapping aspects of it, but there were parts about it that worked to have a different dynamic for the villain set for the season, and I liked that side to things. Back on the negative side, I really was not crazy about Iris becoming the leader of the team. I just don't think that makes a lot of sense in light of who the character is. And back to what I said before, I don't like everyone being a superhero, and I don't like everyone being on the team, and just promoting Iris to leader of the team because she knows Barry, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But back to the positive side, the wedding episode, awesome. Loved that aspect of it. The teases of Nora towards the end, very cool stuff. And going into the finale, I got a bit of a Matrix Reloaded vibe going on, and I kind of dug it. As I mentioned before, I think other people are a little bit harder on this season, a little bit easier on season 3, but I like this show lighthearted, and so I can be a little bit more forgiving if it goes a little bit too goofy. As I go into my top 2, I really like both of these seasons. Depending on the day of the week, either one could come out on top. I think they're both very good. But today our runner-up is season 1. What a fun addition to the Arrowverse. And the reason for that is that they crafted a quirky, fun set of characters and cast a set of actors that have amazing chemistry with one another. I remember watching the pilot for the first time and actually saying to myself, I'm actually laughing out loud at some of this. Also, I really appreciated the simplicity of season 1 where it's about the Flash stopping metas appearing. And I think Iris was best when she was a person that didn't know that Barry was the Flash and that she was just a normal person in this world of superheroes. That dynamic made her more interesting to me because she was different from Team Flash superhero people. And as I've said many times before, I love origin stories. I love watching the whole team come together as they figure out how to do superhero stuff. So naturally, a season about that for the Flash is gonna appeal to me a great deal. Add into the mix the way that they did Wells in establishing him as part of the team, but there's a mystery and we know something's going on. We know there's a second speedster out there, but we don't know who it is. I thought all of that was handled really well, that made for some great twists twists, turns that actually had some emotional punch where you felt betrayed as the season went along and could lead to some really nice heroics in the finale. So this was a great way to kick off this show. But coming in first place is season 2. This is the Flash full speed ahead, where everything was firing on all cylinders. They took what worked about the first season and expanded upon it and built the world, or worlds as it turned out to be, as we now start visiting the multiverse. We've got flashes from other Earths showing up, and everything I liked about season 1, there's just a little bit more of it here. And of course, a big part of that is their way that they decided to incorporate the different flashes into this show. I think worked really nicely, and add to that, they had this mystery throughout the whole season as to who is Zoom, who's inside of the mask, and I think all of these revelations paid off properly. You actually cared. The revelations were actually cool and exciting, and you got to use John Wesley's ship in some very cool ways inside of the seasons that made sense with the multiverse, the world that they were crafting, so that you could have loss, you could have victory, you could have revelations. All of it worked for me. As I mentioned before, I go back and forth between season 1 or season 2 in first place. And I think that season 1 has a really nice origin arc to it. But when I was stopping to think which season has more of those memorable moments, I was like, oh, that was cool. Oh, I really like that. It was season 2 for me. So as for today, season 2 is my number 1. Remember to check out that playlist right over there for my ranking of the Arrow seasons, and come back next week as I rank the Supergirl seasons for the first time ever. Thank you so much for watching, and keep talking movies and TV too much.